All right, as soon as the recording in progress begins, you guys can go.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, everyone. Rick, are we expecting the mayor?
He just called me. He's having troubles getting logged in, and so he's trying to find another device. So
You just let us know when you're ready for us to start.
Thanks, Lisa.
I think we can go ahead and start. So I don't know if the mayor's going to be able to make it because he's not at his office, home office. So he's out on a phone, and he's trying to figure out a different device to log in. So it may not work.
Okay.
He does pass his regrets.
Okay. Well, shall we go ahead and get started then?
Sounds good.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for the opportunity to be here today to share the results of your most recent audit. My name is Lisa Carroll. I'm the audit manager for Team Olympia. And with me today is Paul Griswold. He was the supervisor on your audit. And Christy, can I pass it over to you to coordinate some introductions for the city?
Sure. I'm Christy Wolf. I'm the financial services manager. And can I hand it off to you, Rick?
Oh, thank you, Christy. Rick Walk, city manager for the city of Lacey. Troy?
Troy Woot, finance director. Chief?
Good afternoon, Robert Almada, Chief of Police. Vanessa?
Good afternoon, Vanessa Dolby, Director of Community Economic Development. Leilani?
Hi, I'm Leilani Sue. I'm the HR director here at the city. And I don't know if there's anyone else on here. Like
Mayor Ryder, looks like
that's it.
Looks like Mayor Ryder just joined.
I'm here.
Chelsea, did you?
Chelsea Yarwood, accounting manager.
Great. Well, again, welcome everyone. We appreciate your participation in this meeting. If there are any questions throughout this, feel free to speak up. We're happy to answer those as we go through this. I also wanted to mention that there was a pack of information sent over prior to this meeting, but we do have this PowerPoint pulled up here that's going to walk us through a summary of everything that was in that document. So you won't really need it to follow along, but if you did go through it and had any questions from your review of that document, we'll hopefully answer those as we go through. But again, just speak up if you have any questions. With that, we'll jump to slide 2. So one of the most important things about our audits is their role to increase trust in government. And our audits are able to do this because the public trusts the state auditor's office as an independent organization that provides transparent examinations of the operations of state and local governments. Another important role of our audits is their ability to identify areas where efficiency can be improved and you can be more effective in complying with requirements. And our audits can also tell us where you are already working efficiently and effectively. So our goal today will be to make sure you understand the results of your audit and answer any questions that you may have. And with that, I'll turn it over to Paul for now to go through those audit results.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. So thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to go through the financial audit results with you. And so we conducted a financial statement audit for the period of January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. And so the objective of a financial statement audit is to issue an opinion as to whether the information included in the financial statements can be relied upon to make decisions. And so we're pleased to report that we're issuing an unmodified, clean audit opinion on the city's financial statements. So this is the opinion you want to receive and provides the assurance that the financial statements are fairly stated and materially correct. Additionally, our audits are conducted in accordance with government auditing standards. And so those standards also require that we gain an understanding of the city's internal controls or your processes that you go through to prepare the financial statements. And so we're pleased to report that we didn't identify any concerns with the city's process that we're required to bring to your attention. And then lastly, audit standards also require us to consider compliance with applicable state laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements where non-compliance could affect the fair presentation of the financial statements. And so you'll see in your packet on page 7, there was no indications of any non-compliance that were material to the city. Any questions about the financial statement audit results? So in relation to our financial statement audit, professional standards also require that we share whether there were any uncorrected misstatements that remain in the audited financial statements. And so we're pleased to report there are no uncorrected misstatements that have been left in the financial statements. We're also required to note whether there were any material or large misstatements that were identified and then subsequently corrected by management. And so we're also pleased to report there were no material misstatements identified during the course of the audit. And so as part of our financial statement audit, we do evaluate certain risks that we'd like to share with you. And so audit standards require that we evaluate the possibility that management may be able to circumvent certain controls. And so we're pleased to share with you that our evaluation showed no instances or possibilities where controls were circumvented. So that was the financial statement results. So I will jump over to federal grant compliance. And so we conducted a federal grant compliance audit or single audit for the same period as the financial statement audit. And so the objective of this audit is to determine whether the city materially complied with the requirements of receiving federal funding and then issue an opinion as to whether on that compliance. And so we're pleased to report we're issuing an unmodified audit opinion on the city's compliance with federal grant requirements. So that's the opinion you want to receive and provides assurance that funds were expended in accordance with their intended purpose and all requirements have been largely followed. And so our audits are conducted in accordance with uniform guidance. And so those standards also require that we gain an understanding of the city's internal controls or processes that you go through to ensure federal grant requirements are followed. And so should we identify any weaknesses or concerns with that process that did or could result in significant noncompliance, we're required to bring those to your attention. And so we did identify a weakness in the city's process over verifying recipients of federal funds were not suspended or debarred, which we're reporting as a material weakness. I'm going to go over that in a couple of slides, just the details of those. And just for your reference, the results for the federal grant compliance can be found on page 15 through 18 of that packet. So in conducting our federal grant compliance audit, we select enough federal grant programs for our audit to satisfy coverage requirements set by federal guidelines. And so it's in assessing this requirement, we identified the two programs here for audit, which are the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, as well as the congressional grants. And so these grants represent about 85% of the city's total expenditures for 2023. And so we did identify the weakness in the congressional grants. So I'll go over that in the next slide. And so, like I mentioned, we are issuing a finding over the city's process for basically confirming suspension and debarment for subrecipients. And so this can be found on page 9 of your packet. And so basically what this was is that this is part of the Makerspace project in which the federal grants were basically passed along to St. Martin's University. And it's the city's normal practice to check that those recipients are not suspended or debarred. It's a requirement for receiving federal grants that you have to check whether those recipients are no longer or are not suspended or debarred. And so because of this kind of unusual or kind of unique process, basically the check was overlooked by the city to make sure that St. Martin's was not suspended or debarred. And so we know that the city historically always checks for suspension or debarment. So this one was kind of unique. However, we are required to report it as a material weakness because it didn't get checked. And so we have recommendations over the city how you can improve your process. And I know the city's already taken corrective action to basically correct this for future federal programs. So any questions about the finding? Yes. Mayor.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around this one. So we checked to see if the actual people who are doing the construction had requirements, but we didn't see if St. Martin's University did.
Correct. Yep. And St. Martin's was the actual recipient of the funds. So that's where I think it basically kind of got overlooked is that you were passing it to the St. Martin's University.
But the final user wasn't in compliance, which is, I don't see if the final user is in compliance and got paid correctly and is in compliance. I don't understand what St. Martin's University has to do with that.
So St. Martin's University was the subrecipient of the federal program funds. So the city received the funds and then passed it along to St. Martin's. So federal grant compliance requires that if you're passing along those funds to any subrecipient, you have to check for suspension or debarment. And then St. Martin's is also, if they're passing along the funds to like a contractor, they're also required to check that as well.
Okay, but obviously the likelihood of St. Martin's University being in suspension or debarment is like 0.
Yeah, correct. So that this is a tough material weakness. So it's not uncommon for us to issue this one because we know that a lot of entities, yeah, we're like we know that they receive federal funding, so we know that they're not suspended or barred, but there's just these specific things that federal grant compliance requirements requires you to check. So there's like 3 specific things that can be done to show that you were in compliance, and the city wasn't able to provide those.
I think it's also worth noting that after this was identified during the audit, it was checked, obviously, that St. Martin's was not suspended or debarred. So we're not questioning any of the costs as part of this grant. And we've included that information in the finding as well.
Yeah, it just seems like a very small oversight.
It is one of those very minor or seemingly minor requirements that's required by the federal government, and that's the standard that we have to audit to, and the rules are very clear about how we have to report this as well. So we understand it's you're not the only one who gets this type of finding.
Any other questions about the finding or any of the other results that I went over?
No, maybe not a question, just maybe a comment. I certainly appreciate the chance to improve. And as you identified, we've already, identified our plan to make sure this doesn't happen in the future. Also appreciate you recognizing the unique partnership we have with the Economic Development Council, as well as the university and the city. We came together to do good for the community, economic development. I certainly don't want that to be discounted in any way. This is an important project. It was actually just recognized by the governor in the Smart Communities Award. So, an important project. Also appreciate you acknowledging that there were no questionable costs. This is really just kind of a procedural oversight on our part. So thank you for that. And again, I don't want this to diminish anything the city thinks about. There's a lot of effort that went into this project and the success of this. And, we take these seriously. I don't want anyone on city staff to take this personally. This is still a great project. And again, we did good for the community.
Don't have any other comments. I appreciate that, Troy. We know that this was a very unique project. That was it was a grant that basically the city had never received before. So and we appreciate the city's response to the finding as well. So yeah, this one's a hard one to issue, but we basically have to issue it as a material weakness. But yeah, but we know the city is definitely taking corrective action for it. So
Great, thank you for that.
Well, before I turn it over to Lisa, I do want to give some kudos to the city staff. So I was the audit supervisor. A lot of the work was done by our staff auditors as well as our lead, Zach, who is on basically PTO right now. So Zach prepared some thank yous. And I also know that I worked really closely with Chelsea and Christy to get this one all wrapped up and out the door. So just wanted to thank all city officials who we worked with throughout this audit, as well as in particular Christy and Chelsea, just for their exceptional communication and also just being able to provide us documentation super quickly and getting this single audit and financial statement audit exited before September is very, very impressive for the city. Really wanted to give a shout out to the city for that. So with that, I will turn it over to Lisa, who's going to go over some closing remarks.
Thanks, Paul. So we also wanted to share that audit costs are in alignment with the original estimate that we shared towards the beginning of the audit. We do budget for an efficient audit. So as Paul mentioned, the timely provision of documents is huge in us being able to keep to that budget. So just wanted to share those kudos as well. We are just getting underway with your accountability audit. So unfortunately, you're not rid of us quite yet for this year, but we are underway for that accountability audit. We've included an estimated cost for that next audit in your exit packet. Again, that's already underway. And then once we wrap that one up, we'll give you the quote for all of the next year audits as well. And this report will publish to our website in the next 1 to 2 weeks. If you've not already signed up to receive notifications from our office about when reports publish or other news and alerts that we periodically share, we encourage you to sign up. The web address to do so is on the screen as well as in your packet. We'll also send out a customer service survey when the report publishes. Christy, I think you're the one who receives that notification, but anyone is welcome to fill out those surveys, so feel free to forward that on. We'd certainly want to know if there's things we can do to improve our services, but it's also really great when we get to hear what worked well for you on the audit. And then Christy, I'll also reach out when we have the Federal Audit Clearinghouse submission ready, so we can do that last piece of the single audit requirement, get that filed with the federal government.
Sounds good, thank you.
Yeah. And that wraps up everything that we wanted to share with you all today. I want to thank you all again for taking the time to meet with us and go through these results. Like I said, we're still at it with the accountability, so we'll be seeing you all again soon for that piece. But for now, this is what we've got for you with the financial and federal audits. So I'll turn it over for any final questions or comments.
I just want to say thank you for continuing to partner with the city. And it took kind of everyone to come together for this audit. I especially wanted to point out to, Chelsea's work and Troy's work on this audit. And the response to the city, that the city provided to state auditors. So, but it takes a village, so we appreciate all your help with all the departments and your support.
I was add on to thank the city of Lacey team for all their work and effort to get the information and documents and corrective actions, and also doing the good work in the community, and also thank the state auditor team for coming in and working with us through these audit processes. And I know they're one right after the other and continuous, and so do appreciate the time and effort of all parties and trying to make sure that have our systems in place for good public finance accountability. So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all again, and hope you will have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.